I think that prevailing theory is that Tony's the man, and we need to see him fight Khabib. But Gaethje comes out of the gate really hot and hits so hard, and Tony isn't afraid to take some shots, and Gaethje hits so hard, and Tony loses the first round a decent amount, and then just shreds guys up and wins later in the fight. You know what? I think, especially if Gaethje was an underdog, I think I'd bet on Gaethje.
You know, when it comes to like Ferguson, you never want to count him out. But there's some reason, like I'm like, yo, Gaethje's crazy enough to pull this shit off.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm almost really, because I mean, one, Gaethje's also a good wrestler. Like people forget that because he has those.
He doesn't shoot. He doesn't wrestle.
Yeah, it's like people forget that, but it's like thinking about he's a psychopath. So is Tony Ferguson. So it's like they're gonna be on the feet for a while. I think Gaethje has the upper hand when it comes to striking in terms of just like normal striking, but Ferguson is unpredictable. So you don't know what kind of wild shit that he may pull off. But when it comes to the ground, Ferguson is good there, but I don't know if he'll be able to get Gaethje there. So, I mean, he might with like some crazy, he's going to go for Imanari rolls to all this stuff and like, all this, like you never know what you're going to expect with Tony Ferguson. But for some reason, I've been thinking it's like Gaethje might really like be able to pull it off because we've seen Tony get dropped. It's like we've seen him get hurt.
He gets every fight.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like now Gaethje hits hard as hell, so he might not be able to get up from that. And you think about it, it's like everyone gets older. Your chin has been tested a lot. You've been in wars. Who knows? It's like you might get hit with that one and just go out. It's like we saw him do it to Edson, and then it was Cowboy too.
And Vic. Yeah.
Yeah, and Vic. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, and those are taller guys. Ferguson is a taller guy, and I don't know. I'm kind of thinking that Gaethje might be able to actually really pull it off. But I was really hoping for Khabib versus Tony because that any real MMA fan or anybody who's been following for a while, it's like we've been wanting that fight for years.
Yeah.
And that fight is. So I'm almost more interested in that than honestly the Khabib fight. The only reason the Khabib fight pulls me in is just because it seems like it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
So obviously I picked Tony, 100% Tony. But I think what makes it even more crazy is that he would do this after just making weight for the fight that didn't happen, and that he could easily sit down, chill out, and say, you know what, I'm going to wait on the belt. And he absolutely has that ability. Or to at least wait on the belt or, let's say, a Conor McGregor fight. He could have either of those, let's be honest. And yet he's still willing to just throw it out there on the line and fight Gaethje, which is a very dangerous opponent. Because if he would lose to Gaethje, then that would pretty much reverse him and Gaethje in rankings and position. Whereas then Gaethje would be the guy that could fight for the belt or fight Conor McGregor, which I hate that I even have to say is like the second best thing to do. But it is. So I think it's insane and says a lot about Tony for him willing to risk it. So I 100% pick Tony. I don't think he would do something that ridiculous without being smart. A lot of people call him crazy, but I think he thinks through a lot of the things he does. So
their styles are very different. I'm actually very excited because Gaethje has good wrestling. He just doesn't use it when he fights, and his striking is – that dude hits hard, man. He hits hard. He can take a hit. Tony isn't. I wouldn't call Tony much of a power puncher, but he can just go for days. He can hit you from all different kinds of angles. He's always inflicting damage. And Gaethje's, he lands one kick, you're gonna feel it. He lands one punch, you're gonna feel it. He's always got that just lights out power. And he can very easily, I wouldn't say easily, but he can very readily negate Tony's grappling advantages. So I think this is going to be a really good fight, and I'm actually leaning towards Gaethje in this one.
Well, okay, so the thing is like, I really think that Tony's going to win, obviously. But like, well, no, not obviously. Not obvious at all, actually.
I have Gaethje winning it.
Oh, really? Well, the thing is like, I would like him to, but I think Tony's gonna win just because I think his heart is there more. You know, like he has it's not like in it more, but I just feel like I can't explain it. I see something like in his mind or something. I don't know what it is, or like in his heart that's like he's just fucking winning. Like, you know? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
I'm a big Ferguson fan. I did his seminar. He came and did his very first ever seminar in New Jersey. At when was it? Was it beginning of March, end of February, something like that? And just a cool dude, you know. I've always been excited. I'm a huge fan of 10th Planet. It's right up my alley with style. And you know, he's just careless. You know, I love his style. He gets hit. He keeps coming forward. He's very unpredictable. You know, he's out there and he's like free spirited, which is awesome when he fights. So I think that he's gonna win. I can see him wearing on Gaethje. Gaethje takes a lot of damage, and he's gonna have to use his wrestling, in my opinion. And ever since the beatings that Gaethje has taken, nobody can take that much punishment without starting to get chipped away.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't see him finishing Ferguson, and I could actually see Ferguson submitting him, you know, or TKOing him. So I'm excited for that fight. It's definitely going to be a barn burner, but I think Ferguson has it. You know, I think it's going to be closer than it was on short notice.
Yeah.
But I still don't think it changes the outcome of the fight.
Man, I'm going to take Justin Gaethje. I've always been a fan of Justin Gaethje, even from his days back in World Series. You know, I've always thought he was a monster. And I remember when I used to want to fight Justin Gaethje. And, you know, as I've gotten older and, you know, years later, I'm like, thank God I didn't fight that dude back when I wanted to. He would have probably killed me. But I think, you know, he's one of the toughest guys in the sport, and I love the way he approaches a fight. The dude, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he gets tired. He doesn't care if he gets hit. You know, of course he cares if he wins or loses, but he goes out there and he puts it all on the line. And I think his kicks is going to be the factor. His kicks and his wrestling is going to be the factor that's going to play out in the fight with him and Ferguson. So I'm going to take Gaethje.
But I like that fight a lot. I like that. Man. Tony is a madman, but Gaethje is a freaking Terminator, you know? Gaethje, everybody says he does stuff wrong, but he does a lot of stuff right. And, you know, he's determined in, you know, putting people's lights out. And, man, that's a tough fight, too. You know? I feel like Tony is more dangerous on the ground, like if it goes to the ground, top or bottom. But I can't say that I've seen much of
Gaethje's wrestling.
Gaethje's I can't say I've seen much of Gaethje on the ground just because, I mean, he's hard to keep down. I've seen that, and he's very good at defending takedowns. So,
And he's a high level wrestler, right? He's a college wrestler.
Yeah, he is. He was the D1 All-American, I believe.
Yeah, he just chooses not to use it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He's not. People say he's not smart, but he does what he does very well. So, jeez, man. He also sacrifices. I feel like he sacrifices his body a lot, but you know, it gets the job done. You know, and he's all out on what he's doing. So,